Welcome to the UFC Baku prop drop, where I briefly go over every single matchup on the card and highlight my favorite props from each matchup, and then end it off with my top 3 prop spots, as well as a long shot to try to cash a lottery ticket for you guys. All right, without further ado, let's get right into it. We start off in the heavyweight division with Hamdi Abdelwahab going up against Muhammad Usman. Both guys are guys that I often look to fade. They're not that good of fighters, but I do have to give the slight edge in terms of aggressiveness to Abdelwahab, which is what I believe has been the reasoning for Usman being on the slump that he's on as of late. I expect this fight to go to a decision, which is currently sitting at minus 210, a little bit wide for my liking for a heavyweight matchup, but Abdelwahab to win by decision is currently sitting at plus 130, while Usman by decision currently sits at plus 280. Again, I'm going on Hamdi, but I would need better odds there to be or wanting to pull the trigger there. All right. Going from the heaviest men's division to the lightest men's division, we got Tagir Ulanbekov going up against Azat Maksum in this flyweight matchup. This is a fight that I expect to hit the scorecards, which you can currently get at minus 180. And then I expected it to be Ulanbekov, who utilizes his smothering grappling approach to keep Maksum on the defensive. This could be competitive early, but as we start to get into deeper water, I'm expecting Ulanbekov to start pulling away in this matchup, and I think he ends up winning it on the scorecards, which you can currently get at minus 110. On the flip side for Maksum, if he does end up landing more damage while defending the takedowns of Ulanbekov, he can win this fight by decision, which you can currently get at plus 600. All right, next up, we got Irina Alekseeva going up against Claudia Sygula. I'm liking violence in this spot. You know, I think both women are pretty low level, but also very violent and very capable of finishes. I think it's going to be the Alekseeva side that ends up getting the finish, but the under 2.5 at plus 115 is very intriguing. Alekseeva to win by knockout is currently sitting at plus 800. You know, I don't think it will be like a straight up just one punch knockout, but maybe a barrage of shots that eventually gets Sygula out of there. That's definitely worth a consideration. And then Sygula, if she wins, I think she'll be fighting off her back for a lot of this matchup, but she has been shown to be very aggressive with arm bars, and if she throws up that submission here, she might be able to catch Alekseeva on something, and you can get Sygula to win by submission at plus 1400. All right, we got another women's matchup here between Melissa Mullins and Daria Zheleznyakova. A rematch of a fight that took place back in November of 2023 that saw Mullins get an early TKO stoppage, and I'm expecting her to replicate that result this time around. You can get Mullins to win by knockout at plus 220, and then you can get Zheleznyakova to win by decision at plus 470. Those are the two outcomes that I'm kind of foreseeing for this matchup, more so leading on the former than the latter, so give me Mullins by knockout. Next up, we got Jun Young Park going up against Ismail Naurdiev. The fight to go to decision currently sits at minus 135. I think that's a decent line, but I think it's going to be the Iron Turtle, Jun Young Park, who ends up getting his hand raised here, and I think it's going to come with a lot of pressure, a lot of pace, a lot of control against the cage, a few takedowns, but for the most part, I think he'll be keeping Naurdiev from utilizing his striking advantage and ultimately winning this fight on the scorecards, which you can get Park to win by decision at plus 160, and then on the flip side, if Naurdiev defends correctly and is able to get off on his damage, he's likely to win this fight on the scorecards as well, which currently sits at plus 370. All right. Next up, we got Suk-Hyung Ko going up against Oban Elliott. Couldn't really wrap my head completely around this matchup. I thought Elliott was way too big of a favorite to begin with, so I wasn't even thinking about parlaying him. But even looking at the props here, nothing really jumping out at me. I think he wins by decision by just putting together more strikes, landing a few takedowns, getting some control time. But you can only get that line at plus 120, so that's not juicy enough for me to really budge there. On the flip side for Ko, if he wins, I think it comes by knockout, which you can currently get at plus 750. If he stops the takedowns and forces Elliott to strike with him, I think Ko is the more dangerous striker in terms of finding that finish, whereas Elliott's a little bit more dangerous with putting together a lot of numbers and volume, and if he survives the knockout power of Ko, he should end up winning this fight on the scorecards, which is the one that I would go with here. All right, next up, we got Mohamed and Naimov going up against Bogdan Grad. Interesting matchup here because I do lean on the Grad side, and I'm kind of surprised that he finds himself as a pretty big underdog in this fight, but that gives us more opportunities to cash some very juicy props. So not only do I like his money line, but for him to win by submission, BJJ black belt, I believe, you can get that at plus 1,400, but also you can get his prop to replicate the last loss on Naimov's record, which was a round 3 sub to Philippe Lima. You can get Grad to win by round 3 sub at plus 5,000. That's definitely worth a little bit of a sprinkle if I'm being honest, but I love that spot and definitely going to take a sprinkle there. On the flip side, the issue with Grad in the past has been his durability at times. I think Naimov has the knockout power that if he ends up winning, it will probably come by knockout. And you can get Naimov to win by knockout at plus 270. The best chance of him winning by knockout is likely early in that first round. So you can get Naimov round 1 knockout at plus 750. But I'm going to lean more so on the submission props for Grad as they're very juicy and very live in terms of hitting here. All right, next up we got Nazim Sadykhov going up against Nicholas Motta. People calling me crazy for picking Motta here, but sometimes you got to look like a crazy person if you want to cash some of these juicy tickets, and I feel like Motta is more than capable of doing that. Obviously, on the Sadykhov side, if he wins this, it more than likely comes by knockout, which you can currently get at plus 115. But if Motta's durability holds up and his striking defense improvements continue to show, he could definitely make Sadykhov work more than Sadykhov is expecting. And I think that we'll see Motta land more effective shots. I think we'll see him be a little bit more effective with the volume, the output, establishing his range and kind of establishing the pace of the fight as well. And I think we're seeing a lot of improvements from him in his recent fights, and I think if he wins, it probably comes on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 800, which is not a bad line. But again, his money line is around that plus 340, plus 350 mark, which I think is more than worthy of a shot as well. All right, next up, we got Miktaibek Orolbai going up against Tafik Musayev. Fun matchup here, grappler versus striker, obviously. I'm going to lean with the grappler here in Orolbai, and I think him winning by decision is the most likely outcome, which you can currently get at plus 210. And then on the flip side for Musayev, if he's able to halt the takedowns of Orolbai, he will be the more effective striker and has the knockout power to cause Orolbai some trouble. All signs point to Orolbai having very good durability, so I'd be surprised if Musayev actually comes through with it. But if he does win, it probably comes by knockout, which you can currently get at plus 500. All right, next up we got Curtis Razor Blaydes going up against Rizvan Kuniev. A matchup that was supposed to take place back in March. Fight day illness pulled Blaydes out of the matchup, and now here they are throwing down this weekend. But I think this is a very winnable fight for Blaydes. He can utilize his wrestling, which I think he can do effectively here. It might be competitive early, but I think Kuniev will start to give up the takedowns in the second and third rounds. Blaydes to win by decision is currently sitting at plus 220. Blaydes to win, if he sets a high enough pace, maybe he can find the finish. Blaydes round 2 is plus 550. Blaydes round 3 is plus 1100. But I think this will be a slow, grueling grind with Blaydes getting his hand raised on the scorecards, like I said, which is plus 220. And then on the flip side, we know what the issue is for Blaydes, right? Sometimes if he can't get to his game, he's kind of ripe for the picking for these guys with enough knockout power. I don't think Kuniev has crazy knockout power, so I don't think it's as live as some people are making it seem. But Kuniev to win by knockout is currently sitting at plus 550, and I think that would be the best hedge if you're looking to hedge here. But I am pretty confident on the Blaydes side of things. I'm happy to parlay him, happy to play his decision prop as well, but he should control and dictate the pace of this fight from the jump. All right, co-main event now, where we got Rafael Fiziev looking to snap a 3-fight losing streak, going up against Ignacio Bahamondes, who's trying to build upon a 3-fight winning streak of his own. But I think that the public is very much stuck in the recency bias side of things here. I'm very surprised that Bahamondes continues to get become a bigger favorite. I think it was roughly around evens early in fight week. Then it got to about Bahamondes being around minus 130. Now he's closing in on minus 150. But I think people are overlooking some of the advantages that Fiziev should have here. Size-wise, sure, Bahamondes looks very intimidating, being so much taller and longer than Fiziev, but we've seen Bahamondes get touched up by smaller fighters in the past, most notably John Makdessi. Now, I get it. Bahamondes is a much better fighter than he was when he went up against Makdessi, but Fiziev is still a top 5, top 7 lightweight and a guy that can go out there and make it very difficult for Bahamondes to implement his game. I think Fiziev's speed will help him get to the target a lot quicker than Bahamondes, but I also think that we can see Fiziev drag this fight to the ground and really grind out Bahamondes from that top position, similar to what happened to Bahamondes in his last defeat, which was at the hands of Ludovic Klein. Fiziev to win by decision is currently sitting at plus 310. Fiziev to win by knockout, a little bit of a long shot, but plus 390, I'd want a better number than that. I just want to kind of state it because it's possible if Fiziev lands on the chin of Bahamondes, he can find that spot to put him away. But I think Fiziev wins by decision, and at plus 310, I think that's more than worthy of a shot. On the flip side, I'd be very surprised if Bahamondes finishes Fiziev. That line for Bahamondes to win by decision, which is probably the most likely outcome for him, currently sits at plus 165. All right, that brings us to the main event now in the light heavyweight division, as we have former champion Jamal Hill looking to get back to his winning ways as he goes up against former title challenger Khalil Rountree Jr. Now, I'm usually a guy that looks to go out there and fade Jamal Hill whenever I get the chance, but I think that this is a spot where he can go out there and actually touch up Rountree, counter him effectively from distance, utilize his speed advantage, and then slowly work Rountree down until he can open up a finishing opportunity for him in the last 3 rounds. You can get Hill by knockout at plus 200, but if you want to start throwing the rounds in there as well, you can get round 3 knockout plus 1600, round 4 knockout plus 2100, round 5 knockout plus 2400, and then on the flip side for Rountree, if he wins, probably comes by knockout as well, which you can currently get at plus 140. But I'm going to go Jamal Hill and Jamal Hill by knockout. All right. Last segment, or last portion of the segment here, the top 3 prop spots that I'm looking at, as well as the long shot. Last week didn't really work out. Ochoa by submission obviously ends up going out there and knocking out Cody Durden, so that kind of sucked. Umar Sy not having the type of aggressiveness I was expecting him to have, so him to win by decision doesn't really work out. Abdul Malik round 1 knockout plus 115. You just stared at him for 2 rounds until he finally started to let it go in the third, so very unfortunate there. And then the long shot Petrosky round 3 sub plus 2800. Shabazian making the improvements that are needed for him to get to the next level, and he was able to shut down Petrosky for the majority of 15 minutes and defeat him there. So a little bit of a slump on that top 3 spots, prop spots. So we'll see if we can get it back this week. And there should be one of these, at least 2 of these that end up hitting. And I feel pretty good about the long shot as well. So let's get right into it. First one up, the Irina Alekseeva and Claudia Sygula under 2.5 at plus 115. Then we're going to go Melissa Mullins by knockout at plus 220. And then we're going to end it off with Rafael Fiziev by decision at plus 310. And the long shot, I'm going to go straight up Bogdan Grad by submission at plus 1,400, but I will, again, advise maybe taking a little bit of a sprinkle on that round 3 submission at plus 5,000 as well. There you guys go. Prop drop. And that is also a wrap on the UFC Baku content for the week. I'll be back on Sunday to drop the UFC 317 breakdowns for you guys. I believe it's 317. Yeah, 317. We'll also have 2 Cage Warriors events that I'll be dropping breakdowns for. PFL 7 will be going down as well. And then Octagon 733 will be strictly on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. You're probably watching this and the fights are going on right now with PFL and LFA. I have those track plays and all that good stuff on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. So make sure you guys check that out. Otherwise, good luck on all your action this weekend, folks. And I'll see you guys on Sunday for the International Fight Week card breakdown. Very much looking forward to that. See you guys then. Peace.